The first I ever heard of Polish developer Teyon was the unexpectedly great Terminator Resistance back in 2019. Now they're back with another even more ambitious game based on a classic sci-fi action movie franchise, Robocop Rogue City. Pretty good choice for a follow-up considering how often those two series have bumped into each other in gaming. Rogue City puts you in the Kevlar laminated titanium armored chassis of Alex Murphy sometime between the second and third movie. Old Detroit is still as crime-ridden as ever, made worse with the arrival of a mysterious new crime boss who has the city's gangs doing his bidding for mysterious purposes, involving disappearing corpses. To make matters worse, Murphy is having troubling flashbacks of his old life at very inopportune times. When one such glitch gets caught on camera during a hostage situation, his minders at Omni Consumer Products start tightening the screw, installing a chip in his head to monitor his field performance, and having him undergo psychological evaluations with Dr. Olivia Blanche so they can fix whatever's wrong with him, or barring that, justify turning him off for good. And of course, if you think OCP isn't somehow involved in something shady, then I got something you can buy for $1. But none of that's going to stop Robocop from doing what he does best, taking out scumbags, investigating crime scenes, and giving out parking tickets.
One parking ticket is all it takes to improve mindfulness.
If I were to describe Rogue City in one word, that would be authentic. Teyon has already proved with Terminator Resistance that they could successfully translate the feel of the original source material to their game, and this one is no different. Everything has the right gritty 80s analog future dystopia aesthetic. Dirty, trash-filled streets contrasted with gleaming corporate skyscrapers, gangs of violent punks and killer robots, with not a cell phone in sight, just people enjoying the moment. Places from the movies like the police station or OCP offices are meticulously recreated, and the game is littered with callbacks and references to the films, both big and small. And that glorious Verhoeven violence is on full display with every head, hand, and dick shot. Mwah. And then there's the cyborg of the hour himself. Playing as Robocop feels exactly the way it should. Your default movement speed is a slow, thumping walk, with sprinting speeding you up to at best a jogging pace. Luckily, you're also built like a walking tank, so not being able to avoid small arms fire by dodging or crouching isn't much of a problem. You aren't quite as nigh indestructible as he was in the movies, but there are enough repair kits lying around to fix yourself up should you need them. It's only under masked fire or when the enemy starts bringing out the heavy artillery that you really need to be more careful. Mind you, after you introduce them to some high-powered justice, there's nothing stopping you from using those same weapons on them. From pistols and SMGs to assault rifles and shotguns, sniper rifles, heavy machine guns, grenade and rocket launchers, and of course the Cobra assault cannon. And let me tell you, using that one really put a smile on my face.
I like it!
But all that is just the appetizer. The main course is Murphy's iconic Auto 9 burst fire hand cannon, which not only has unlimited ammunition, but can be upgraded with a surprisingly in-depth customization mode. You'll find different circuit boards in many places throughout Rogue City. Selecting one lets you play a little game of connect the dots with your collection of upgrade chips, increasing the weapon's damage, reload speed, armor penetration, accuracy, etc. by the selected chip's percentage. There are even special nodes that grant extra abilities when powered up, semi-auto but extra damage, bottomless magazine size, full auto, explosive ammunition, even increased gore effects. There are also penalty nodes to avoid, so you do need to think about what chip to plug where. The downside to all this is that even in its default state, the Auto 9 makes a lot of the available arsenal almost superfluous. If there's one thing I wouldn't have minded seeing is the multi-weapon arm Murphy had in Robocop 3. I think I speak for most of us when I say that our cyborg police officers could use more machine gun / flamethrower / missile launcher attachments. Aside from all this firepower, Robocop also has some more inherent abilities. Superhuman strength means he can breach through weak walls and locked doors, punch crooks' heads clean off, or grab them to throw like rag dolls. Same goes for stuff in the environment: computer monitors, gas canisters, bikes, dumpsters, you name it. Scan mode highlights enemies with an appropriately Robocop visual for added accuracy. In addition to that, completing objectives, taking out criminals, and reading notes gives you XP that you'll be able to use to level up a number of skills, giving you passive upgrades and extra powers. Shield lets you shrug off 80% of damage for a short while. Focus slows down time for precision targeting. Dash gets you out of harm's way, knocking down anyone in your path. Ricochet lets you do that cool move from Robocop 2 to get at enemies behind cover. Shockwave is an arm-mounted flashbang, perfect for hostage rescue. And Vitality lets you use fuse boxes to recharge your health. Sadly, there's no New Game Plus to start over with these already available. Beyond the frequent shootouts, you'll also be applying your skills in more peaceful manners. Detroit of Rogue City has many open areas for you to explore, kind of like another game with cyborgs taking place in Detroit, that change as you return to them over the course of the game, filled with citizens in trouble and crimes to solve. You'll just as often find yourself scanning for clues, collecting contraband, and talking to witnesses as you will be reaching for your gun. Those non-combat skills are what will help you here, unlocking dialogue options and letting you analyze evidence like a one-man CSI lab. And your interactions here matter, affecting future events and the fates of many characters along the way. This mix of combat and non-combat sections helps with Murphy's characterization. You won't draw your weapon unless someone's shooting, or barge through a locked door without a warrant, because that's not what he'd do under the circumstances. It really cements the cop part of Robocop, and while I do wish some of the detective work had been a bit more complex, I found the balance very enjoyable. All this praise doesn't mean the game doesn't have issues, however. While the important characters are good for the most part, some of the voice delivery is uneven, especially for the minor NPCs and goons.
My dad's missing, so he can't tell me nothing. My mom said that he's out on an assignment, but I know the truth. He's not coming back.
And visually, the facial animations aren't always up to par, although, again, the main cast are generally better. This stuff gets most noticeable when dealing with characters returning from the movies.
Old Detroit has a cancer, and that cancer is crime.
Old Detroit has a cancer. The cancer is crime.
Luckily, Robocop himself is pitch perfect, in no small part because Peter Weller is back as Alex Murphy, and the 15-ish hours it takes to complete the game gives him a lot of opportunity to really dig into the character. And while the environments are very often realistically drab and derelict, they react to gunfire in very satisfying ways. With its last two titles, Teyon has established itself as a studio that can make a great game on a relatively small budget, remaining extremely faithful to the source material while also expanding on it in their own way. I don't know if we'll ever return to Old Detroit in a sequel or Annihilation Line style story DLC, but even then, I've enjoyed the hell out of Rogue City. If you're a Robocop fan and like the idea of gunning down creeps one moment and serving the public trust the next, then this game is well worth buying for much more than $1. Or to put it another way,